You're United. You think back to the great Liverpool teams, United teams. They kind of had England's midfield. Do you know? I think they've kind of gone away from that. I think right now they've got Kobe. Obviously, Casemiro's leaving. Bruno has been an amazing. So who knows how long he'll be there? I think if you're United or you're squad planning, I would say, right, I want England's future midfield. So Elliot, Kobe, and I'd try and get Morgan Rogers or Cole Palmer. And I'd say that's where I'd throw the kitchen sink at it, because I think they've got a decent little nucleus here with that. But obviously with Casemiro leaving, you need defensive one, and you need a 10. And I think if you had Elliot, Kobe, and Morgan Rogers or Cole Palmer, you're going to be competing for a while. I love the idea of this, because there's been a notion that they've got to go and buy another centre back, a full back. I love the fact that you're saying no. Let's go and reach for the stars here. Let's go. But they've got loads of centre backs now. You think with that three, you think, oh, we don't really have any. They've got two of the best young ones in Heaven and Euro. They've got Martinez and Maguire. De Ligt was probably their best centre back before that. So all of a sudden they got six. They don't need centre backs. They don't need a keeper. Maybe a full back. They might need a full back. But I think the centre mid is a position they need something.
I think the interesting ones here. You've mentioned Rodgers. You've mentioned Palmer. You'd also put Gibbs White in that category as well, and he's being linked with Manchester United too. Do you think but they've got Bruno Fernandes there, so there's been a lot of talk about Cole Palmer, Manchester United fan, Manchester lad going back. How realistic is a Morgan Rogers or a Cole Palmer or a Gibbs White to Manchester United this summer? It's
more obviously, say if Bruno was in there's been a lot of talk. He was unhappy with a few things, and he also deserves the right to compete for the biggest trophies, because he's been off the scale. United probably aren't there.
Who would you take of those three if you're gonna take one? If you're gonna say, well, let's make a splash, and you're Man U, who would you sooner have? Rogers, Palmer?
I'd splash it in a different area.
Would you?
I'd splash it as a replacement for Casemiro.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Not do that as well.
They need both, though, don't they, Stevie?
Yeah, but did he play before Fernandes? None of them are better than Fernandes, are they?
But I would just wonder if your squad plan, you think, right, we got.
I think maybe further down the line, if Fernandes was to go, then you take Rodgers all day long. Yeah. If you were Man U.
Is he the best of those for you, or is it over Palmer? So Palmer, Rodgers, Gibbs White.
I think as a 10 to replace Fernandes, yes, I would say Rodgers. Yeah, but I think Palmer's more of a line up further on. But they've already bought him in positions with Mbuemo, haven't they? So I'd say United probably need Rodgers more than...
Cunha, obviously, is on his day, he's class, isn't he?
I just think Fernandes has been absolutely outstanding.
Amazing, isn't he?
He's been the one major positive throughout the
But if you're one of them players, you're not signing for United if he's staying, are you?
Correct.
No, I think that would be after if he did leave.
Yeah.
Then
a year down the line, maybe?
You need a Rodgers or Cole to
replace.
Yeah.
They've got to replace Casemiro, so there's no secret there. So who's that? Who replaces him?
I mean, I think if you couldn't get a better person to look at it than Michael Carrick, because it was his position. And Michael didn't play it like I played it or Mascherano played it. He played it more like Xabi Alonso, as a thinker. And to be fair, a lot of the best managers in the world actually play that position, don't they? Virtually all the top managers were a defensive midfield player, whether Pep or Mikel or Simeone or Deschamps or... You can literally go on the list forever. So I think Carras, I hope, has an input on that, not the club and the sporting director. I hope he says that's what I want.
Is there a type that they need?
I could see Elliot Anderson being that type for them.
Yeah.
I would say it needs to be someone who can really get around the pitch, and that's probably going to be his strength, who can cover areas and cover distance at speed to complement what's already in there.
But they're hard to find, Stevie, aren't they? I mean, that's why Sir Alex signed me to do that, because the team was so attacking and I was quite athletic, so I could cover space. But actually, traditionally the six was like Casemiro, wasn't it? Deschamps, Dunga, they're just that. Makalea, they're just there. Whereas now, because the game is so athletic, Stevie's right. You need somebody that can, like Casado, that can get about.
But to complement Mainu and Fernandes, I would say you need someone who can get around the pitch.
See, I've been seeing a lot of Elliot Anderson this season and last season. He's a lot like Kobbie Mainoo. There's a lot of similarities between the two. I think Stevie makes a great point. I'm not sure whether you've not got two players with pretty much the same demographic next to each other in the same midfield.
But Fletch, you know what? We won the Champions League with Carrick and Scholes right next to each other. So, it works if the boys can if the rest of the group is right. And so I think depending on what you have, you can figure out what you need. But I think the good players, they figure it out eventually.
According to some of the latest back pages, Michael Carrick is closing in on permanently becoming the Manchester United manager. Sir David Beckham had his say on that current situation with the interim boss on TalkSport Drive yesterday.
Michael's got experience. I think he's got a calmness about him that he's brought into the club. He knows the club. He knows the players. He knows the way Man United play and way Man United should play. And I've always liked Michael as a coach. When you look at him, there's a calmness. There's, on the side of the pitch, there's, I don't want to say elegance because I'm not sure that's the right thing to say, but there's a elegance in the way he is, whether it's the way he celebrates, whether it's the way he gets angry. All of those things are important in a manager, and I think that the way he's got the team and brought the team together has been incredible, and I think as a United fan, it's exactly what we needed.
Just quickly, do you agree with David Beckham?
Yeah, 100%. I think, there's this idea of, just because he's done well. I mean, it's not been they've had change of results. It's been an unbelievable change, as in where they are, the way they've performed in a number of games, that he absolutely deserved the chance to have the job.
Yeah. More from Sir David Beckham on Drive with Andy Goldstein.
Let's start with Ben White. A nice, quiet, low-key return for him, Luke, from his 4-year international exile. Scored, conceded a penalty, booed by some of the fans when he came on, booed again when his name was announced as the goal scorer. Tuchel wasn't very happy with the boos, but did he deserve that reaction?
From my opinion, no, absolutely not. But we live in a world where people feel that they're paying for their tickets to go and watch a football match, and they can shout and scream whatever they like. But I'm pretty certain he's a character that won't be too phased about it. It's obviously not nice. It's a pinnacle of everyone's career. If you make it into the international team, growing up being an England fan, being born in England, it is the ultimate achievement and accolade as a player. So
I suppose it's the fact that for 4 years he decided not to play for England.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of things that we can speculate on, have our own opinions, but unless we were in that room or in the environment where we knew what had happened, and he hasn't come out and really addressed it, nor has anyone else from an England perspective and the staff that are in play at the time. And yeah, a tough one for him to take. It's not nice to see from a player and us as players how hard that would have been personally to take that just as a human being, let alone as a player. So I think it's a tough one for him to take. But if he can continually perform, and I think he did pretty well when he came on, obviously unfortunate with the penalty, but he's a player that can certainly add something to this England side. And obviously in football there are a lot of clashes of personalities and opinions, and I would imagine that's what occurred during that World Cup period where he decided to step away from the team.
Yeah, and Tuchel said that he is going to speak to his teammates and tell them all about what happened and why he wasn't available for England for so long. He was a late call-up to this squad, Jordan, wasn't he? Preferred to Trent Alexander-Arnold, who didn't make the 35-player squad. For you, should White be ahead of Alexander-Arnold in the pecking order going towards the World Cup?
For me, Jules, no. I much prefer the technical type of fullbacks, but I can completely understand and see where Thomas Tuchel's coming from. If you look at the players that he's selected in the fullback areas, you've got Livramento at Newcastle and Lewis Hall, extremely athletic, fantastic engines, they're up and down. Also very good technical players as well, but I don't think anywhere near the level of Trent. Jed Spence, another one that played last night, another extremely athletic fullback. And I watched an interview with Thomas Tuchel, and he touched on the fact that he's seeming to lean towards the more athletic type in that role, which also shows to me that he's putting a lot of trust and faith in his forward players, because I'm kind of getting the impression that he's looking at his defenders and his fullbacks and wanting them to focus a little bit more on their defensive side of the game, because fingers crossed England go deep into the tournament and you come up against the likes of the France and Germanys and Argentinas, Brazils, and the wingers are fantastic, elite level at those nations. So I think for me, Thomas is probably going towards his more defensive-sided defenders. Another one that surprised me was the omission of Luke Shaw. I think he's had a fantastic season, but again, probably not as athletic as the players that he's picked. Has had a few niggles injury-wise over the last year or so, although this year he's been back to his best. He's played pretty much every game for Manchester United. But yeah, I think he's just edging towards those athletic fullbacks, and I think that's where the decision comes from.
And of course, we wait and see how Reece James is in his hamstring issue ahead of the World Cup as well, out at the moment. On Alexander-Arnold, Sam, I mean, he's made one sub-appearance since Tuchel took over. Worth remembering, he only made 22 starts for England when Southgate was the manager, and only 7 of those were at right-back. For context, Trippier made more than double those appearances, and Kyle Walker made another 20 appearances on top. So he was definitely not a guaranteed starter under Southgate. So Tuchel doesn't seem to be having him either. Are they both wrong?
Yeah. Maybe part of it is because he's at Real Madrid. Had he gone to another European side, a lesser light, maybe there wouldn't be the clamour, the headlines that it's created. If it was Declan Rice per se that had been left out of this squad, then I would understand this being the noise. But he's not pulled up trees since he's gone to Real Madrid. I think he's only completed 90 minutes in La Liga, so I think that's relative as well when we're talking about this current squad. So I don't think we should get too carried away. Would it be a surprise if he doesn't go to the World Cup? Absolutely, for the reasons that Jordan states. In a tight game, there's naturally going to be that. If they progress through the group stages, you might need that little bit of extra, which of course Reece James can supply from right back. But it's a risk probably going with defensively minded fullbacks when it's become such a big part of the game. And if he's deployed wide right, I know who I'd want delivering balls into me if I'm Harry Kane, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I mean, there's none better. I heard David Beckham talking yesterday about the similarities in the way that he can cross a ball. There's no one better than Alexander-Arnold. Maybe Reece James is in that kind of that ballpark as well. But he makes the final squad for me. But we don't know what's going on. We don't know the intricacies of what goes on day in, day out, and the conversations that we're not privy to. So I'm not sure it's completely that, but I think it's probably part that and probably a little bit of the way that he's featuring or not featuring every minute for Real Madrid currently.
A growing debate is taking over the football world after Owen Hargreaves, Roy Keane, and Gary Neville were left seriously impressed by Elliot Anderson, tipping him as a potential long-term replacement for Casemiro at Manchester United F.C. Anderson's recent performances have caught attention for all the right reasons. His energy, composure on the ball, and tactical intelligence have made him stand out, especially in high-pressure situations. He has shown the ability to break up play, carry the ball forward, and contribute both defensively and in transition, qualities that are essential in modern midfield roles. Roy Keane praised his mentality and aggression, noting that he has the character needed to succeed at a big club like Manchester United. Gary Neville also highlighted how Anderson's style could fit seamlessly into United's system, especially in games where midfield control is crucial. Meanwhile, Hargreaves emphasized his work rate and positional awareness. With questions surrounding Casemiro's long-term role, Anderson is quickly emerging as a serious option. While he still needs more experience at the top level, his rapid development has sparked excitement among fans and pundits alike, and the conversation about United's future midfield is heating up fast.